Welcome back to Fear Files, where nightmares come to life. Tonight, we delve into stories that will chill you to your core and keep you up at night. Get ready for a journey into the unknown, where every shadow hides a secret and every sound echoes with dread. Brace yourself. The terror begins now.
Detective Sarah Lawson stared at the crime scene with a growing sense of dread. The alley was dimly lit, the flickering street lamps casting long, menacing shadows. The body before her was grotesquely arranged, echoing the signature style of Richard Blackwood, the serial killer she had helped capture years ago. "Another one," Lawson muttered, her breath visible in the cold night air. "This can't be happening." Her colleague, Detective Mark Reynolds, glanced at her with concern. "You all right, Sarah? You look like you've seen a ghost." Lawson forced a tight-lipped smile. "Just tired. Let's focus on the case." As they combed through the scene, Lawson's mind raced back to Blackwood's trial, the media frenzy, and the sense of relief when the killer was finally behind bars. But now, as she examined the crime scene, the similarities to Blackwood's previous murders were undeniable. Back at her office, Lawson tried to shake off the unease. She reviewed old case files, searching for any clues she might have missed. Her phone buzzed with a new message, a cryptic note reading, "The darkness never truly dies." A chill ran down her spine. She had been receiving similar messages for weeks, but dismissed them as prank calls or misguided fans. Now, with the new murders, the messages took on a sinister tone. That night, Lawson struggled to sleep. She saw fleeting glimpses of a shadowy figure in her dreams, Blackwood's ghostly apparition, watching her with malevolent eyes. The new murders continued, each one more grotesque and ritualistic than the last. Lawson's investigation revealed that each crime scene contained subtle clues, leading her to believe that someone or something was orchestrating these horrors. "Sarah, you need to see this," Reynolds called, holding up a photograph. It showed an old newspaper article about Blackwood's past victims, each one marked with a strange symbol. Lawson frowned. "It's as if someone is trying to recreate Blackwood's work. But why?" As Lawson delved deeper, she found a pattern in the symbols and messages that pointed to Blackwood's ghost. Desperate, she reached out to a local medium, hoping for answers. The medium, a woman named Evelyn, conducted a seance at the crime scene. As the candles flickered and shadows danced on the walls, Evelyn channeled the spirit of Blackwood. "Richard Blackwood, are you here?" Evelyn intoned. The air grew icy, and a chilling voice filled the room. "I am not gone. I am here to finish what I started." Lawson's heart pounded as Blackwood's spirit manifested, a twisted, ghastly figure. "You were captured. You're dead. You can't harm anyone else." "Evil never truly dies," Blackwood's voice echoed. "It lingers, festers, and waits." As the nights grew colder and the murders continued, Lawson's grip on reality began to fray. She started seeing Blackwood's apparition at crime scenes, always just out of reach. In a desperate attempt to understand the connection, Lawson revisited the sites of Blackwood's original crimes. She found a hidden room in one of the old warehouses, filled with disturbing artifacts and writings that hinted at dark rituals. The final clue led her to an abandoned asylum on the outskirts of the city. The building was a labyrinth of decay and shadows, and Lawson felt an overwhelming sense of dread. In the heart of the asylum, Lawson faced Blackwood's ghost once more. The spirit was more powerful here, its rage and malevolence palpable. "You can't escape!" Blackwood hissed. "I will make you suffer as my victims did." Lawson fought back, using the knowledge she had gathered about Blackwood's rituals to counteract the spirit's power. She invoked the names of the victims, pleading with their spirits to help her. A violent storm erupted as Lawson and Blackwood clashed, the asylum's walls shaking with the force of their confrontation. With one final desperate plea, Lawson shattered the connection between Blackwood and the physical world. The dawn broke, bringing with it a profound silence. The murders ceased, and Blackwood's spirit was finally at rest. Lawson emerged from the asylum, exhausted but relieved. "Is it over?" Reynolds asked as he approached. Lawson nodded. "For now, but evil has a way of leaving its mark." As she drove away from the asylum, Lawson glanced at the city, now bathed in the light of day. The shadows of the past had been faced, but the echoes of Blackwood's terror would linger in her mind. Detective James Carter had retired from the force, leaving behind the chaos of crime scenes for a quieter life. But peace was elusive. As he sat alone in his high-rise apartment, the silence was pierced by a whispering voice, too soft to be clear, but unmistakably present. Carter dismissed it as stress-induced paranoia until the first sighting. Late one night, while looking over old case files, Carter saw a shadow move across his office. He turned, but the room was empty. The whispers continued, growing louder each night, mingling with disturbing visions of a face he knew all too well, Vincent Klein, the serial killer he had helped convict and execute years ago. As the days passed, the disturbances escalated. Carter found messages scrawled on his walls, disturbing phrases that seemed to come from nowhere. His old colleagues were skeptical when he reached out for help. "You've been out of the field too long, James," said Detective Lisa Reynolds, his former partner. "Maybe you're just stressed." But Carter knew something was wrong. The visions of Klein grew more vivid and menacing. At night, he saw Klein's ghostly figure roaming his apartment, its eyes glowing with malevolent intent. Determined to understand the source of his torment, Carter revisited the old case files. He discovered a pattern in Klein's previous crimes that hinted at a ritualistic element. Each murder had a particular detail that seemed to mirror the current disturbances in his life. Desperate, Carter consulted a local paranormal expert, a woman named Claire who specialized in haunted locations. She conducted a seance at Carter's apartment, trying to communicate with the spirit. The room grew icy, and a chilling voice echoed through the room. "I am not at peace," the voice said. "I will have my revenge." As Carter's encounters with Klein's spirit became more violent, his grip on reality began to slip. He saw Klein's apparition in reflections, heard his voice in the dark, and found himself reliving the moments leading to Klein's capture and execution. The line between past and present blurred, and Carter struggled to discern what was real. New murders began to surface, each crime mirroring Klein's old methods. The city was gripped by fear, and Carter's name was dragged back into the spotlight. He became a pariah, viewed as a washed-up detective who couldn't escape his own demons. Carter traced the new murders to an old abandoned asylum on the outskirts of the city. The place was a labyrinth of darkness and decay, a fitting setting for the final confrontation. Inside, Carter faced Klein's spirit once more, now a twisted, vengeful figure. "You can't escape your guilt," Klein's spirit taunted. "You and your precious justice. I'm here to show you that evil doesn't die." Armed with the knowledge he had gathered, Carter attempted to use the symbols and rituals from Klein's past to banish the spirit. The battle was intense, a clash of willpower and supernatural force, with the asylum's walls trembling from the struggle. The climax of their confrontation was marked by a violent storm. Carter fought with every ounce of strength to expel Klein's spirit, invoking the names of the victims and using the ritualistic symbols to weaken the ghost. The final confrontation was brutal and desperate, with Carter barely escaping the asylum alive. In the end, Carter managed to banish the spirit, but not without a cost. The asylum was left in ruins, and Carter emerged battered and mentally scarred. The city returned to a semblance of normalcy, but Carter was forever changed. The hauntings had ceased, but the memories and guilt remained. He faced the media and the public, trying to explain the unexplainable while grappling with his own sense of failure. As Carter looked out over the city, now bathed in the light of dawn, he understood that the past had left an indelible mark on his soul. The shadows of Klein's terror might have receded, but the echoes of guilt and the lessons learned would linger forever. Detective Robert Hale sought refuge in the quiet countryside, hoping that the isolation would bring him solace from the ghosts of his past. The old farmhouse, with its creaky wooden floors and overgrown garden, seemed perfect for the retreat he craved. But peace was fleeting. On his first night, as Hale settled into his new home, an uneasy silence was broken by the faintest whisper. He dismissed it as the wind playing tricks, but the feeling of being watched lingered. Strange occurrences soon followed, shadows that seemed to move on their own, and unsettling noises in the dead of night. As days turned into weeks, Hale's peace was shattered by increasingly disturbing visions. He saw glimpses of a figure in the mirror, a face he recognized all too well. Adrian Cole, the serial killer he had helped put to death. The ghostly apparition seemed to be trying to communicate, leaving cryptic messages and symbols around the house. Determined to understand the meaning behind these supernatural manifestations, Hale began to research Cole's past crimes. He discovered a pattern in the unsolved cases, each one linked to the same disturbing symbols seen in his visions. Hale's investigation led him to the local library, where he met Emma Lawson, a historian with knowledge of the region's dark past. Emma shared unsettling details about the farmhouse's history. Previous owners had vanished under mysterious circumstances. As Hale dug deeper, he encountered local residents who were wary of his inquiries. The small community had its own secrets, and Hale sensed that there was more to the story than he had initially realized. His interactions with the locals revealed a network of individuals who seemed to have an unspoken connection to Cole's crimes. The ghostly presence of Cole grew more aggressive. Hale received haunting visions of unsolved murders, each scene replayed with disturbing clarity. The spirit's messages seemed to point toward a hidden network of accomplices who continued Cole's work from beyond the grave. Hale reached out to former colleagues and experts in the field of paranormal investigations, but their skepticism only fueled his desperation. He was alone in his struggle against an unseen enemy who seemed to control every aspect of his life. Hale's search for answers led him to a series of secret meetings and shadowy figures who were connected to Cole's criminal network. Each encounter revealed a chilling truth. The network was still active, continuing to commit heinous acts under the guise of anonymity. The more Hale uncovered, the more he realized that Cole's spirit was not just seeking revenge, but was also manipulating the network to achieve its own dark goals. The boundaries between the living and the dead blurred as Hale faced increasing danger from both the supernatural and human threats. The climax of Hale's ordeal came when he discovered the location of a hidden lair used by the network. Inside, he faced Cole's spirit in a terrifying showdown. The ghostly figure was more powerful than ever, embodying the full extent of its vengeful rage. In a desperate battle, Hale used the knowledge he had gained about the supernatural symbols and rituals to confront the spirit. The confrontation was intense, with the lair's environment shifting and distorting in response to the supernatural forces at play. With the spirit of Cole banished and the network dismantled, Hale was left to pick up the pieces of his shattered life. The farmhouse, once a symbol of his escape, had become a place of profound change. Hale grappled with the impact of the events and the realization that true peace was elusive. As he looked out over the misty countryside, Hale understood that his past would always be a part of him. The echoes of Cole's torment had left a lasting mark, but Hale resolved to move forward, knowing that he had faced the darkness and survived.
Thanks for joining us on this spine-chilling journey through the dark and unknown. If these stories left you haunted and craving more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Share your thoughts and fears in the comments below. What scared you the most? Until next time, stay vigilant and remember, the darkness is never far away.